Hi everyone, welcome to Bae Watch. I'm some dumb American and I'm here with my lovely host, Mara Jane.
Oh. and we're going to talk about today everything from the Transgender Military ban to Microsoft Paint because that had some drama this week.
And then afterwards, we're going to have a discussion about children in healthcare because there have been several stories surrounding that in the news this week.
Yeah. And if you would like to support our brand new show, you can use the $ in the bottom of the chat to super chat and contribute to the conversation as well. Or you can check out our Teespring store, which has some pretty cool shirts and stuff on there. And that link is in the description below.
Make sure you subscribe to the Bae Watch channel, and you can also follow Bae Watch on Twitter. Those links are also in the description. Once we get the Bae Watch channel to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to start doing the live shows from there. But until then, we were just going to alternate every week. So if you like what you see here this week, make sure you come back next week to Mara's channel, which is also in the description. And then that's where we'll be next week. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what's our first story we're going to talk about?
So I guess we'll start with the Swedish Chain Saw incident. So there was a guy in Sweden who was basically terrorizing people with a chainsaw, but it wasn't a terrorist attack. So people were terrified, but they weren't Allahu Akbar, is the point. Nobody died. People were seriously injured, obviously, because it's a chainsaw, and a lot of people were scared.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a terrorist incident, and the police were kind of freaking out, trying to get everybody, like, make sure that you know that this isn't a terrorist incident. So,
yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to get hacked by a chainsaw. Like, that would just be absolutely horrific.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine either.
Yeah. Do they know who did it, or are they just still looking for an unknown person?
They know who did it, and they have got pictures of him. So,
well, hopefully they get him soon because
he's an awkward-looking white guy, actually. So it's not no beard or turban or anything, but
he's clearly an MRA.
But the next major story that we had this week is the woman who killed her 14-year-old sister in a car accident.
Yep. So this chick, she pretty much was live streaming while driving, which I've done before, but it was on a stand. And I wasn't actually driving, not the point. But and she started to swerve off the road because I think she might have had drugs or alcohol in her system.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've heard, and she overcorrected, and then the car went off the other side of the road, and the two passengers in the back seat, her sister and I'm guessing her sister's friend, they were 14. They weren't wearing seatbelts and they went flying out of the car, and her sister died on scene. And the other girl had severe leg injuries, I believe. And this crazy, crazy woman gets her phone and starts live streaming her sister's dead body or dying body. Although I've seen it and it looks like there was no way she was alive at that point because, and starts Billy D describes it as posing with the body, which it kind of does look like she was kind of posing with the body.
Yeah.
And saying, I just killed my sister, I'm going to jail.
And she's actually pleaded not guilty. This was a development from today. She's pleaded not guilty to vehicular manslaughter charges. So
I don't know how she's going to get off on that. It was definitely negligent driving on her part.
At the very least, but the fact that she was live streaming in the first place.
Yeah, and when you look at her previous social media posts, this isn't the first time she's done it, and she's not the first time she's almost had an accident. She's had multiple near misses that she has bragged about on her social media previously because she was Snapchatting.
Yeah, so I think at that point you're doing something that you know is absolutely dangerous. You're doing it with children in the car.
Yeah.
I don't see
And
how
I've
it's.
seen a lot of.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, you go. I was just going to say, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, they should have been wearing seatbelts. Well, I'm sorry, I have my license, and one of the first things you get taught is you do not start the car unless everyone in the car has their seatbelt on. Like as the driver, you are responsible for everybody in that car.
Yeah, and especially given that the kids in the car were, I mean, they were not small children, but they're still kids, and this is
Yeah.
supposed to be the adult responsible for her. So,
Yeah. And I think her estranged uncle, it doesn't look like he speaks to the rest of the family. It's her dad's brother. He apparently told the parents long ago that their oldest daughter was off the rails and they need to do something or she's going to get herself or somebody killed. And that's what's happened.
which is, it's really just a sad situation all around, and it'll be interesting to see what happens to her because,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, people are describing this as a tragic accident, but again, there's a clear pattern of behavior. It's not an accident. It was a matter of time.
No, I would agree that it's not an accident as well. I mean, obviously, the car accident's the car accident, but this is a person who was fully aware of the risks that she was taking and
Yeah,
chose to take them anyway.
pretty much. And I hope she goes to jail.
I hope she goes to jail for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So the next major story we had this week was Trump's transgender military ban. So Trump announced in a series of tweets that people who are transgender are no longer going to be allowed to serve in the United States military. And basically the whole entire world blew up is about what happened with that.
Yeah. I know you've spoken about this on your stream with Scribe and Monkey, but I don't agree with a full hardcore across the board blanket ban in any capacity. I think a trans person can work in IT for the military. I think they can work in the kitchen on base.
Yeah, I was a little bit hasty with because what I was thinking was combat roles in the military. Is where my brain was, and I didn't specify that, but like that's really what I meant at the end of the day. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, for one fucking thing, that's just confusing because even if you have a male to female, let's say, and they're taking hormones, they're now a less effective man.
Yeah. And
then
so you go.
And then like if it's a female to male, then you kind of have like a mini She-Hulk, but not like to the point where it's like a man.
A mini She-Hulk.
Well, it's kind of what it is. So, but like, so what do you do?
I know.
What do you do with that?
And I don't think that women in general should be in frontline combat roles in general. And I think I would be okay with trans people serving in the military in the same roles that I think women should serve in. And it's not even necessarily because of the individual. Oh, sorry. It's not even because of the individual trans person themselves and whether or not they're mentally capable. It's also, I think unit cohesion is probably the strongest argument for it because you don't have to hate women and you don't have to hate trans people to be like, I don't know if the person next to me is capable of defending all of us. I don't know if they're capable of dragging my dead body away or injured body away to safety or anything like that. And I think that that is a very important thing that needs to be kept intact in frontline roles. These men need to trust each other fully.
Yeah, and I don't even think that we should have allowed women in combat roles either.
No.
I completely disagree with that. That being said, if you don't touch the standards to become somebody on the front lines, women aren't going to get there anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But I don't. Yeah, a mini Bae. That's the new baby, and he's super
I'm
sweet,
sorry.
adorable.
Sorry. Yeah, I can't leave him with his dad for such a long period of time yet because he needs mummy cuddles very often.
No, it's okay. He's perfectly welcome. But sorry, I just babies excite me, and they excite chat, obviously. So, um, but I don't really think that transgender people should be in combat roles the same way that I don't think that women should be in combat roles. I think that we need to be as persnickety as possible when it comes to picking those people out. I mean, we're in a position where we have that luxury to do so.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think here trans people are allowed to be like serve in any and every capacity, but from what I've heard about what's been going on in our military here as well, they're getting very social justicey. Which I'm sorry, the military is the one place where fuck social justice.
Well,
Fuck
that's
it.
something that has just been driving me up a fucking wall. I'm like, here's the other thing though. When you have transgender people in the military, the amount of fucking time that we're gonna have to spend arguing over where they're gonna shower, over where they're gonna sleep, over
Yeah,
we don't have time for this shit. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I think I don't agree with the full across the board ban, but I do agree with the ban in combat roles and but then the across the board ban does remove all of those arguments you were just mentioning. So it's like what do we do?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and it's, I mean, and it's kind of like, okay, because in a weird way, trans people, because when they're transitioning, are almost in like a between genders kind of thing, where they're not
They're
quite,
stronger than a woman, but they're weaker than a man.
where they're not quite one, but they're also not quite the other, because while they might look and present and act female, they've still got the bacon down below. So, so what do you do with that? I think that's I think that's like there's just so many logistical issues that I guess I haven't worked out. But the other argument against that is that they were in the middle of working them out when Trump announced on Twitter that no more trans people in the military, period.
Yeah, so then there's also all of this time that's already been wasted, and maybe they were coming up with a viable solution. I don't
I don't even know what this.
I don't know.
It's ignorant to say that trans people shouldn't be on the front lines. Also ignorant to say that all trans people should be on the front lines.
Well, it's not ignorance. It's like I said, like just from terms of unit cohesion. If you want to take out every other thing about strength or capacity of the individual, unit cohesion is a must on the front line. And you can be unsure about the trans person fighting next to you, even if you don't hate trans people.
Well, you could be unsure about a woman fighting next to you.
Yeah.
Without hating women.
Even if you don't hate women. It's the unit working as effectively as possible is the ideal goal, and removing trans people from that equation, I think, is best to achieve that goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why, you couldn't have a trans person on the medical staff, or you couldn't have them in IT, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in the actual combat roles, I think it's pretty much a no-brainer. And that's what I meant. I mean, like, I didn't really clarify what I meant, but at the same time, too, I mean, even in those other roles, I guess, depending on where they are, I mean, like, you still have to figure out all the stuff about, like, where they sleep, where they shower, what unit they're in, because we already have issues of incidents of sexual assault in the military and incidents of claims of sexual assault in the military as well. And I can see that getting a whole lot worse when you throw a bunch of trans people into the mix. So
I very well could. I mean, honestly, as well, because just say there's a unit that has. I'm not saying that all men can't control themselves and stuff like that, but it does also open up not even just accusations, but genuine assault. Because, like, let's be honest, would you rather rape the guy that looks like a guy or the guy in a dress? Like, if there's a military rapist out there, then he probably would rape the trans person.
Because I mean, while there are a lot of incidents of females in the military being raped, but a lot of the military rape incidents are male on male.
Yeah.
So
it's. I just think that there is going to be a whole lot of mess if. I mean, because they have been allowed to serve previously. Is that correct?
There are trans. Okay, so it's complicated because explicitly no, but technically yes. Does that make sense?
So it's a don't ask, don't tell type thing?
Well, sort of, yeah. And again, guys, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation, you can send in a super chat, and we will get into what you say. Coming up, we're going to be. We talked about previously. If you just are tuning in, we talked about the 14-year-old girl who was killed by her sister in the car accident, and we also touched on the Swedish Chain Saw case. And coming up, we're going to be talking about Microsoft Paint and Jake Paul. So if you have anything to say about any of those topics, feel free to join in on the conversation. Technically, it's just like not a thing. Like, people haven't worried about it in the past, if that makes sense. So there aren't really any laws on the books.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like, things like it's the same thing that happened in North Carolina with the bathroom stuff. When you push an agenda, you're risking making life harder for trans people, because then they actually have to write an explicit law against it.
Right. I mean, and with the transgender bathroom situation, for example, that was an interesting case, because really, if you look female and you pass, then there's no reason.
Gonna know.
Yeah, then nobody's gonna know that you just infiltrated the women's restroom.
Oh my god, have you seen the photos going around of trans men in the women's bathroom?
No, what?
There's a trans man. So obviously still got female. He's still got a smush cookie. So he's having to.
I have a smush cookie.
Yes, you do. SCA has smush cookie t-shirts, and
yeah, sorry.
If you want one, you can go to her Teespring store.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, he dead set looks full blown like a guy, right? But he's got into the woman's bathroom and been like, people never think about the opposite argument.
Right.
Look how uncomfortable these women are. And there's women in the background, they're just looking at him like, why the fuck are you in here?
Right, because it looks like he's got, the bacon down below.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, well. What?
I would die if he's got a full beard and everything. I would die if I was just in a public bathroom and this person walks in. I'd be like, what the fuck?
And then he like has to explain, oh well, you see, I still have my smush cookie, so technically, and you're just like, no.
Just go use the men's.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I give you permission to use the men's. I mean, can you imagine, like, let's say, like Blair White, for example, or somebody who looks even better than Blair White, walks into the men's restroom, and you're just like, I mean, I'm pretty sure all the guys would be like, I mean, okay, but
why?
Are you aware? And then, like, you know, hot tranny extraordinaire would have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, my dick bacon is still intact. So there you go.
You know what? Just to spite all of you, I am actually going to make a dick bacon shirt.
You should. I would wear a dick bacon shirt.
I'm going to own the dick bacon. I've
accepted
it.
Dick bacon actually kind of looks good. I don't know.
It's so good.
Dick bacon. So, for those of you who don't know what dick bacon is, dick bacon, the bacon that they have in Australia, it's got like the bacon, but then like they don't cut off. I don't know how to say it other than like the ball sack. The ball sack.
It's the middle. It's got middle bacon still attached, so it's not just a strip.
Yeah, so schlong balls.
Yes.
Dick bacon. That's why it's called that. And that's why we call it. Like, it's not technically, like, if you walked up to somebody and you were like, hi, can I have dick bacon? They'd be like, what? It's not what it's called. But
it will be after I start selling my shirts.
Anyway, do we have anything else to add on the trans military?
No, I think we've been talking about it for over 10 minutes, so we should move on.
Okay. So we're into our more minor news stories, but Microsoft Paint has bitten the dust, except it hasn't. It will live on as a free app. So for those of you, and I saw a lot of you on Twitter, don't lie to me, who were very worried about poor Microsoft Paint going bye-byes. It's going bye-byes, but like it'll be there in an app, so you can still have it. So Microsoft Paint is safe, just so you guys know.
I don't even have Windows, and that makes me happy. Because my childhood was spent on Microsoft Paint.
I know, so was mine, right? Like, I mean, whose wasn't? I guess if you're...
I know.
Well, no, it's okay. It's still, I mean, everybody's still saying that it's dead. It's not dead. You can still get Microsoft Paint.
It's just not pre-installed.
It's just not pre-installed. But I also have to wonder how many of the people that are really upset haven't fucking touched Microsoft Paint.
I would have been really upset if it was fully dead, and we don't have a Windows computer in our house.
Yeah, I mean, I care, but you know, it's okay. But you can install it as an app on Windows 10. So Microsoft Paint is saved. The next story we've got is the Jake Paul debacle. So.
It's such a mess. It's such a mess. When we're talking about it, I'm probably going to describe it how we spoke about it before, because there's no other way to talk about it. So anyone who has no idea who Jake Paul is, which you probably all do, but I didn't know who he was until this whole thing went down. He was with Disney, now he's not, because they got rid of him because he keeps lighting fires in his pool and annoying his neighbors, and then he doxed someone, kind of, and everyone hates him, and he's just and is he where the whole dabbing thing comes from? Because if he is, then I hate him. Because my niece is... It's that... I'm not going to do it. I sent you a gif of it, of Betty White doing it.
Right, okay.
Yes, and what even if there is somebody who can tell me the fuck dabbing is, like, what is it meant to be other than a stupid because I even saw friggin' Hillary Clinton, a picture of Hillary Clinton dabbing. And I don't get it.
I don't know what it is. Well, like, I know what it is, but I don't.
Me neither.
Or where it started.
Me neither. And apparently as well, I heard the other day in some of his videos, he'll just be like, fuck those haters, dab. And he won't actually even dab. He'll just say dab. And I dabbing is something the blacks do. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so apparently he didn't create dabbing. He just does it a lot.
Well, that's the worst.
Well,
anyway,
I think why my niece knows what it is. Fucking prick.
But
she asks me to dab all the time. I'm like, no. Sorry.
But God, fuck, I had a thing. Oh yeah. Jake Paul is an interesting case because Philip DeFranco said this, and I think he said it quite accurately, that no matter what happens, if, you know, he gets in trouble for being a public nuisance, if he doesn't, I mean, this guy wins either way, because either way he gets more content.
That's true.
So it's like, I don't know, like, what do you do with that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I don't like him because he seems like such just a smug little shit. Like when he starts laughing at that reporter, like, about his shoes. Like, this guy's wearing brown leather shoes and he's just like, dude, what's up with your shoes?
I don't know if I've seen that clip, but I've seen him yelling at reporters.
Yeah, but all credit to the cameraman, right? The cameraman just like zooms in on the shoes, like for reference.
Like, just so you know what shoes he's talking about.
Yeah, and I personally think that brown leather shoes are not the nicest of shoes, but they look expensive. Oh, that's right. What are those?
Yeah.
Sorry, biggest Mikey. I was paraphrasing.
Yeah, he's a bit of a mess. What's weird about the whole thing too is that he's my age. And I'm just like,
yeah, this is one of those situations where it's like, you are not a normal 20-year-old, or he is not one, or neither of you are. I don't know.
Maybe neither. I'm gonna go with neither. But I think it's one of those situations of just like fame getting to your head and nobody being around to be like, hey, what the
yeah, and he's married.
No, he's not.
I looked it up on IMDb. He got married, I think, in June or something.
No, the fuck he's not.
I swear to God, I read that he was married. IMDb.
Why is it all? It's all in like parentheses.
Give me a second. I swear, full bio. Okay. Yeah, his wife's name is Erica Costell, and they got married on the 19th of June.
Okay.
How is he mature enough to get married? There should be a test. It shouldn't just be based on age. There should be a test.
That's okay. Yeah. I don't even know what to say. Like,
Jake Paul is married. I'm not even married.
I'm just like, but like,
don't be gross.
I'm just like, okay, look. If you're a female and you like have any sort of self-esteem, why would you let someone like Jake Paul put dick bacon inside of you?
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't.
Think that's a good question.
I might. You know what? If it was like 21-year-old me, because that's when I was single, I might let him do it for a night. I wouldn't marry him.
I mean, like, well, to me, I don't know. He looks really young to me as well. Like almost.
Yeah, that's why
young.
he was with Disney.
Yeah, like you can't fuck somebody who's on the Disney Channel.
I don't know if it's the character of the show that he was on, but all the photos on IMDb, he just looks perpetually confused. Every single photo
is just him looking confused.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's enough. I've had enough of that. Yeah. So you had our dumbass. So we've got a little segment. We got segments. I'm sorry this is a little messy, but we'll get better at it. We've got our dumbass of the week, and you can tell us about our dumbass of the week.
Okay, so this guy, I've actually got some of the things listed. So there was this guy who from Nuneaton, I don't know what the fuck that is, who sent his girlfriend a demanding list of like a rule book type thing that she had to follow when she went on a holiday with her friends. And on it is things like no talking to boys, no photo with boys, including group photos. Don't let a boy take a picture on your phone. No adding boys on Snapchat, swapping numbers or Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. No eye contact with boys. She wasn't even allowed to make eye contact with another boy. Now, because I think Unilad, the list was sent to Unilad, and what he ended up speaking to them, saying like, look, it was a joke, but it was never meant to be taken seriously. But then it also says later on that it was kind of a joke, not joke type thing. And because she agreed to the list. She agreed to the list and said that he had to follow the same list only with girls when he went on his holiday with his friends, and he cheated on her with 4 other girls. So now the list is being made public.
Okay, if you're gonna make it a big deal about somebody not cheating on you,
I think there is a lesson to be learned in this situation. The type of people that make these lists make them because they are cheaters.
Yeah, I can see that.
I've never seen someone go to this extreme and be monogamous.
It's just so like, okay, but no eye contact is so stupid. Yeah. Like that's what gets me.
You're walking down the street and you make accidental eye contact with someone. Has she now cheated on him?
I mean, but like the dumber part is that she was like, okay.
Yeah, she wasn't even allowed to play wingman for her friends.
That doesn't make sense either.
I know, and honestly, winging people is really fun. I love playing wingman.
Excuse you, it's wing woman, but
fuck off.
But wait, no eye contact. Why would you no eye contact and go, yeah, sounds like a fucking plan, bro?
That's reasonable.
That's not reasonable.
Can you imagine? She's sitting there talking to a guy, right? And she's just looking at the spot in between his eyebrows.
Just to avoid eye contact. Yeah. And then he's like, what are you? Stop it. He's like, what? What's on my forehead? And she's like, oh, I just have a crazy boyfriend. And he's like,
okay.
So then we've got some fun stories this week as well. There was a tourist in Mexico that saved a little sea turtle. It was actually a big sea turtle. This sea turtle was stranded on its back, and he filmed himself flipping it over. So he had other motives, but at the end of the day, the sea turtle got flipped over, and it's all good.
You know what, though? I'm glad he filmed it because it makes me happy. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of something that happened to me when I was younger. Me and my dad, I used to play t-ball, and my dad was driving me home from t-ball practice. And he just randomly pulls over on the side of the road and goes, wait here. And then he runs out into the middle of the road and picks something up and comes back. I'm like, the fuck just happened? He comes back and hands me this turtle. He's like, hold on to this. We've got to go let it go. And then we went down near the river and let it go.
That's cute,
but it was cute. I know, it was really random. My dad just pulls over all of a sudden. He's just like, and he comes back with a turtle.
And our final story for this week is going to be the paralyzed ex-Olympian, Jamie Antonito, who defies the odds by walking down the aisle on his wedding day. That is so cute. That's cute.
Cutie.
That's cute.
I like stories like that. It makes me happy because it's like you were broken and you managed to fix yourself enough for your wedding day.
Yeah, that's cute. That's some cute stuff right there. So
it's really sweet. I like it.
So now we're into discussion time, and our discussion is going to revolve around children's healthcare, specifically because of the Charlie Gard case and because of the case that you brought to my attention.
Yep. I believe in the US, a 12-year-old boy has won a almost $500,000 lawsuit. He was born intersex, and the doctors decided that he was a girl, and they removed his genitalia. And 4 years ago, his parents sued those responsible for performing and signing off on the surgery. I believe the parents were pressured into having the surgery done.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, well, I don't know what his chromosomes are, but he was born with both bits.
Well, that's such a screwed up case, and such, like, what do you do if you have a kid with both? I know that it's actually pretty standard for the parents of intersex children to sign off on a surgery, to pick one or the other.
I think what I would do is give the kid a name that would work for a boy or a girl, and then get their chromosomes, like get them tested, find out what their chromosomes are, and raise them at, like, if they've got X, Y, or if they've got a Y or a lack of a Y.
Usually if they have both, there's a Y.
Yeah, I would probably raise them based on, or maybe not even chromosomes. I might just raise a genderless baby until they're old enough to start showing signs of either one.
Well, what I understand, because we talked about this in sociology class actually, what they do is they pretty much see, like, what looks more developed. So if the boy parts are more developed, then they do that. And then does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't get surgery until they're old enough to be clearly, I'm a boy or I'm a girl. I think this is probably the only situation in which it's okay to raise a to some extent genderless child. I'm not saying like let your kid run around in a bright pink jumper and then a Thomas the Tank Engine shorts and with a half-shaved
Well, no, you
head
can't
and
do that.
all of that stuff.
That doesn't match. That doesn't match.
No, I know, but you know, you see some of these genderless kids and they're running around like they look like they fell into a Goodwill bin and then came out just and left on whatever they fell into. That's not genderless. You can still have fashion sense and be gender neutral.
Yeah, that's true.
But I would probably just wait it out and see what happens, and then when they're old enough to be like, I'm a boy or I'm a girl, then be like, okay, well, do you want to get fixed down there? And go from there.
Yeah, I don't know what else. Yeah, I don't know like what else you would do. I mean, that's such a tricky like situation.
Yeah, like I understand the desire to want your kid to have a normal life as much as possible, but I don't think 5-year-olds are going to be. Oh, actually, well, some might because kids play doctor. Teach your kid not to play doctor with other kids, and they'll be safe from getting bullied for having both sets of genitals.
Yeah. Well, because usually in that situation too, they're like, so is it? They ask you as a parent if it's a boy or if it's a girl, and this is where, like, maybe a gender neutral thing would make sense if the kid is actually intersex and you need to label them as intersex. That would make sense. Not saying that that's like gender neutral, but literally intersex.
Yeah, like you could have on their birth certificate until until they pick their gender. Like, I'm not saying like they just pick one out of a hat, but until they have their gender, I think their birth certificate should be able to have an I on it and then be updated when
like if you know like for sure the baby's intersex, then describing them as intersex for their describing them as intersex for their sex medically makes more sense, because intersex people with like both sets of junk like
are gonna have different medical needs.
Are gonna have different medical needs from a male or a female, a normal male or female.
Because even if they were meant to be a girl and you choose girl, there's still a good chance they're gonna have to have hormones. Like they need, which then has all of its own bunch of friggin' dramas with that, because then going on hormonal replacement therapy, which effectively this would be, that can cause some massive medical and psychological issues.
Yeah, and sorry, Jinx.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I guess this kind of goes into the Charlie Gard case where essentially like the state and the hospital decided that they were not allowed to go to the United States to seek treatment months ago, by the way, and by the way, they had all the money. And as a US citizen, if you have the money and you have the means and you're not just mooching off the state, I have no problem with you coming here to seek medical treatment if you can pay for it. Well, and they could pay for it. They had the money to pay for it months before this happened.
Yeah, they had well over $1 million because they also had to pay, had to hire would have had to hire an air ambulance, which are expensive as fuck to hire because it is a private plane with medical equipment in it.
Right.
Because as we all know, Charlie needed to be on life support. And people were petitioning Congress, I think, or were in the process of starting that to get Charlie Gard made a US citizen so he could be extradited to the US. And the British government would not be able to prevent that from happening. So unfortunately, though, by the time this reached as worldwide media attention as it did, Charlie's brain damage was just too far gone to be reversed. So effectively, he had a 1 in 10 shot of a normal life in January. And the UK government killed him, pretty much.
And
the UK courts killed him.
You know, and this upsets me so much because they had the money, they had the means in January.
A 1 in 10 shot of life. Like, I'm sorry, that is, how can you, like, that's, I mean, it's still statistically low, but that is a
but when they had
an experimental treatment.
Yeah, and then when they had the money and they had the means to actually do it and to try the treatment, there's no excuse for that. And I mean,
and Charlie was in a, like, wasn't he in like a coma or something anyway? He wasn't suffering. So the whole, it would cause cruel and unusual suffering or whatever the fuck their reasoning was. It wasn't going to.
I mean, he's a baby anyway. Like, even if he's okay, probably not going to remember it, so it's fine.
Yeah,
like,
and
just, I mean, I think it's more cruel and unusual to say that even though you have the means and even though you're able to pay to the treatment,
yeah,
you can't have. I mean, like, the government literally killed a child, like, and that's what upsets me so much about this.
Yeah, I really wish that the Pope and like Trump and that had found out about Charlie even back in February even or something, because it seemed like it was after they both made public statements of, we want to help him. He is welcome in X hospitals here, all of that stuff. Then more neurologists that knew about the treatment and stuff came out and started being more willing to testify on behalf of Charlie's parents and stuff like that. And it could have happened, but it was just too late because this had been going on for 6 months, and 6 months in terms of like brain deterioration is a
long time. And like I said, the other thing, you know, because a lot of people seem to be under the impression that they didn't raise money until after this made national news, and that's not true.
Yeah, no, the money was raised months ago. They've been fighting it out in court since, like, the court battle started after they had the money.
Yeah, because they were like, we're gonna go do this, and the court was like,
no. Yeah, and it fucking sucks. I mean, and because they did say in the GoFundMe that whatever money they had left over, if they couldn't get him into the program or whatever, they would donate the money to, I don't know who. But I guess the silver lining in this is there's going to be well over $1 million donated to probably help fund the research that they were gonna try and get him in on. Which is good, but you know, I would rather the courts have let them take that 1 in 10 shot, because again, that is 1 in 100 chance is still enough for me to go, well, what if my kid's that 1 in 100?
Yeah, I mean, like, you might as well try. Whereas in this case, they weren't even allowed to try. And I can't imagine as parents what that's like, because it's one thing if you've done everything that you possibly can to help your child. Whereas in this case, they literally did not do, like, this child might have died. Yeah. Because, like, this child might have lived and might have been fine, but now he's dead and they didn't even get to try to save him. I mean, that's how fucked up this is. Yeah, and even if the treatment didn't work, again, he still would have, his death would have meant something more than what it currently does, if that makes sense, because he would have been contributing to the research into this treatment. And Well, and even as the family of that poor kid, at least, at least there was effort made to save his life.
Yeah.
Whereas with what happened, they weren't even
Yeah,
allowed to try.
And the thing that was fucked was because they had a lawyer representing Charlie in the court thing, because apparently his parents didn't know what was best for him.
Well, this is like,
and the lawyer
mhm.
is on the board of a Dying with Dignity organization.
That's so like, how is there not I don't want to say a conflict of interest, but how is there not a conflict of interest there?
I know, or I don't know if they're on the board, but they're very closely tied to a Dying with Dignity organization. So they're working for an organization or involved with one that promotes euthanasia, which I'm all for euthanasia. Okay, like I actually do think it should be legal. Obviously, have specific parameters set up in advance, but this situation, that lawyer had a severe conflict of interest. How the fuck can you have someone representing a child who actively promotes euthanasia?
And look, and in that case, 1 in 10, it sounds low, but that's, in that kind of a situation, is incredibly high.
It is.
I mean, you wouldn't, even if you were for euthanasia, which would be like doctor-assisted suicide, like you have terminal cancer, you're not going to get any better, you're just like in a whole, that kind of thing. That's not the situation. I mean, that is a kid who actually has some kind of hope of possibly getting better. And it's a literal death panel. And I'm so mad that the government is big enough that they can literally tell a parent, no, we're just going to kill your kid.
You cannot treat your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're taking, I mean, it's not like they're going to hurt the, that's what upsets me so much. I'm like, you want to kill the kid. What's the worst thing that, like, there is literally nothing worse than what you want to let happen to that child, which is death.
Yeah.
How do you not understand that?
Yeah. And I actually still haven't been able to watch the public statement that the dad read out to the press.
No, I was watching Philly D the other day and I skipped it. I was like, I fucking can't. I'm too upset. I can't.
And it's hard as well because, like, Charlie was like, I think he was born in August and diagnosed in September last year, something like that. Which means he probably would have been like this little size when he was diagnosed. And I'm sitting here holding him.
Sorry.
Thank you. And I'm sitting here holding him and I'm reading this stuff about this kid that's just been taken off of life support. And I'm like, I can't deal. I can't freaking deal. I would lose my shit if something was wrong with him or my daughter and the government was like, no, you can't treat them.
I would be so mad. I would like find a way to smuggle your kids into the country and I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. I will go to jail for the rest of my life. I do not care.
Yeah, I would.
It's just,
if I needed to come to the US and our government, like my government said no, I would seriously be like, Bae, I need you to help raise funds to smuggle us out of the country. I would risk going to jail to smuggle my kid out of the country for treatment.
It's really fucked up that, I mean, that the parents had no say in whether or not their kid got treatment. I mean, the parents wanted to help their kid, and it upsets me so much. I hate that. And it's like, and I hate it for the people in the UK because in the US, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the US, or at least in some states in the US, I don't know if it's an across the board thing or not, but isn't it like parental rights to, like, parental choice to the point where parents can say, I don't want to have my leukemia-ridden 3-year-old treated, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm
Well, that
torn because
says,
it's
I
like,
guess,
okay, if you let the government interfere on that side, then you kind of have to let them interfere on the other side. So it's like, do we let them interfere in the lesser cases and risk them, like in the I refuse to treat cases, and risk letting them interfere in the I want to treat cases? Or do we just say they can't interfere at all and we let
well, I guess there's the
kids?
middle ground of they can interfere in the I don't want to treat them cases, but not in the I
Yeah.
do want to treat them cases.
Yeah, because I think that is a reason to interfere. Like your kid has leukemia, hypothetically.
No, I think if you're refusing a child a viable treatment, I think that that's wrong, and I don't think that you should be able to put down. I don't think that anybody should be able to put down a child, government or parent, when there is another option.
Yeah, I don't think that the government should be able to force them to partake in experimental treatment, though.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, but I also think that in that case, you know, it needs to be up to the parents.
Yeah, although, because in the not treating case as well, like I think it was here last year, I think it was, or the year before, there was this kid that had brain cancer, like he had brain tumors, and he was going to die. But chemo would give him an extra 6 months or something. But those 6 months, like chemo is brutal to go through. It's freaking brutal.
Yeah.
And this kid was, I think, just a toddler from memory. And I can't remember how it ended up being resolved, like what ended up happening, but the government and the hospital were trying to force the parents to put him through chemo. Whereas they were like, well, we don't want to extend his pain because like he was going to die regardless, and going through chemo would have made it the time he had left miserable.
Yeah, that's why I see the argument for just not interfering at all.
Yeah.
Just let the parents and the doctors fucking handle it. Like, because let's face it too, when it comes to government making a decision, any sort of entity, when you get bureaucracy involved, those decisions are not going to be made fast enough anyway. Whether, you know, it's like, let my kid, like, the kid's going to die, 6 months of chemo is just going to torture him. I mean, what, you probably got 4 months of waiting for government to file fucking paperwork, and now he's gone through 4 months of chemo, and you've already tortured him for 4 months, so now what do you do? So, in any event, it's just, government takes too fucking long to decide anyway.
Yeah.
And
it puts more stress on the family, which also hurts the child more.
Yeah.
Like, people severely underestimate the impact of psychological harm.
Yeah. And I think we need to let parents parent.
Yeah.
So anyway, but we are just about out of time. This is an hour-long show for now. But again, if you guys would be so kind as to follow Bae Watch on Twitter and subscribe to the Bae Watch channel. This will stay up for a day, and then we will archive it on the Bae Watch channel. Once the Bae Watch channel gets up to 1,000 subscribers, we will start doing the live shows there. And when they're archived on the Bae Watch channel, you will be able to see all of the links to all the stories that we talked about. You'll be able to see all our sources and references and everything like that. So,
also, just a note, because before people start having some autistic screeching, I think you mentioned you were going to use the wiki page for Charlie because it's a nice amalgamation of all of the stories.
Right. So on the Wikipedia page, if you look at the sources, it's basically Google, but like all nice and together. So yeah.
So that's why we're linking Wiki.
I'm going to use Wikipedia to archive the entire Charlie Gard case, because why link you all the stories when somebody already did that for me? It's much easier on you guys because you guys can see any story about it you want to, and it's easier on me because I don't have to put 50 links in the description. That's why it's being used.
Okay. Sorry, I just had to add that.
All right. But thank you guys so much for being a part of the very first Bae Watch show. Again, Bae Watch next week is going to be on Mara's channel. Her link is also in the description. Go subscribe to everything in the description. Go follow us on Twitter. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Bye.